Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Oh, man, there is some weather out there. Ooh, I'm a little hot. I came in hot, Lady B. I came in hot. Whew, that was a bit much. Whew, I only have to go just a short distance to be here in the studio. Now, we have a judge coming up. I think, do we have the number for Judge Crawford? We want to make sure that folks know about this crucial race in Wisconsin. And we have a full show today. We're going to have a couple of guests talking about the races in Wisconsin. We're going to talk to my friend Anita. Now, full disclosure, I need to apologize to Anita on the air. As you know, we, meaning all the volunteers, the Fibs for Wisconsin, showed up in full force in Kenosha, in Walworth, in Racine, all over the southern part of Wisconsin, door knocking. And while I know that so many of us were frustrated with the results, not just in Wisconsin, but in swing states all across the country, you have to know that the line that we held, that volunteers really did such a tremendous job in making sure that we were able to elect 10 state legislators, that we were able to really stop the supermajority that they have in Wisconsin. And the plus, I guess what they call it the plus whatever towards Republicans, towards Democrats, all those things. Wisconsin only went 1.5% towards Republicans, whereas the average was about 6% in places like Pennsylvania, North Carolina, all the other swing states. So the work that was done in Wisconsin was significant and impactful, and we have to make sure that we keep doing that work. And we have, in a moment, we're going to talk to Judge Crawford, who is running for the Supreme Court. As you know, we were out campaigning for Judge Protasiewicz, and we were successful in that. We've been door knocking for so long. And I know that Wisconsin has this very crazy election cycle, but here's the thing. Wisconsin is crucial in our democracy across the country. And joining us right now is Judge Susan Crawford, candidate for Supreme Court. Judge, thank you so much, first of all. Hi, how are you doing? How are you doing, Your Honor?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. We're heading into an inauguration that I'm not going to pretend it's not happening. I wish, like John Fugelsang says, I wish it would just happen today because this in-between time is frustrating. You, first of all, let's get to know you. How are you doing in Wisconsin today? How's your weather? Let's go there.
We got a little snow today, and it's cold, and that is just Wisconsin in the wintertime, so it's to be expected.
When you say a little snow, are we talking like Wisconsin little snow is like 8 to 10 inches? How much did you guys get?
No, really just a little bit. Just a dusting today. Yeah.
Okay.
More to come.
I've been in your dusting and seen semis and ditches. I'm just saying. So tell us a little about yourself, because you have really had a tremendous career in law. Where did you grow up? What part of Wisconsin did you grow up in?
Yeah, thanks, Patty. I grew up in Chippewa Falls. That's in western Wisconsin. Had a great childhood there, riding my bike all around town and going swimming at the public pool every day. And I went to public schools all the way through, elementary school, middle school, high school, graduated from Chi High, which is what we call the Chippewa Falls Senior High School there. And, just had a great Wisconsin childhood.
And did you want to be a lawyer or even a judge when you were a kid? Because I wanted to be a lawyer around in high school or so. It didn't happen. I didn't pursue that. But when did you know?
Being a lawyer was really not on my radar at all as a kid. I didn't know any lawyers. I didn't know any judges. So it just wasn't something I, even could have thought about, I think, at the time. I really wanted to be a teacher when I was a kid. And, I was a big reader and, a good student. And so that was really my goal when I was a kid growing up in high school. So law came quite a bit later on after I had graduated from college, and I actually tried out graduate school for a while in English, which is what I majored in college, and then decided I really wanted to do something where I could help solve problems in our society and just be a lot more actively engaged in, the issues that really affect people's lives. So I started law school, and I went to the University of Iowa for law school, which at the time was the most financially viable option for me. Got a great legal education there, and eventually found myself at the Wisconsin Department of Justice as a prosecutor, and that's where I started my legal career in Wisconsin.
When you say you wanted to solve problems, I mean, because people think, and by the way, folks, a degree in the liberal arts is such a really great starting point for everybody. I can't begin to tell you, and unless you're like, want to be a doctor, want to be an engineer, obviously a different direction. But for people like you and me, I have a degree in history, and that's also a jumping off point for a lot of lawyers, philosophy, all those things. And when you mentioned you wanted to solve problems, I mean, that comes from, wanting to, read and understand stories. Like, when we see, we learn about those problems, don't we? About in society, in relationships, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think some of it was born from experiences that I had growing up. And, my dad was laid off from his job. He was an engineer, was laid off when I was in high school. And, my family went through a lot of really difficult times financially. My mom worked as a clerk at a office supply store. And so, for a while, that's what my family was surviving on. And as a result, I financed my own college education. I was really lucky to go to a college that offered me a lot of financial support and scholarships and things like that. But, going through some of that and seeing the struggles that my family went through. And I also had a younger sister who was born with a lot of medical issues and had some special needs. And seeing my family, really struggle to get her the care that she needed. Those were things that really shaped my those are part of my life experiences that really shaped my values and made me want to give back and contribute to our community and make sure that, people have what they need to live a good life and achieve the American dream.
Wow. Well, Susan, I was going to go door knocking for you regardless, coming up in the next few months. I have a beautiful boy who has significant challenges and has special needs. Knowing that we might be able to elect a justice on the Supreme Court of Wisconsin who gets it, who's a sibling, because your parents had to have managed, that, I guess we would say thread that needle of making sure that your sister had everything she needed, as well as making sure you were supported in every way possible, and clearly they did, and you found that way. So it informs everything. So tell us a little bit about, the path from being a prosecutor, working in state agencies, being an attorney, and becoming a judge and being on that bench.
Yeah, well, thank you, Patty. So, I've always looked for the opportunities during, my whole career where I could use my experience and my skills and my education to make life better for people. And, all the time that I've been working in Wisconsin to try to protect people's rights and make sure that the promises that are made to people in our Constitution and in Wisconsin law are actually delivered to people. So, as I said, I started out as a prosecutor at the Wisconsin Department of Justice. I was handling cases both in the trial courts. I worked in healthcare fraud, prosecuting people who were stealing money from the state Medicaid program, which is intended to provide health care to poor people. And also worked in the appellate courts, so that's the Wisconsin Supreme Court and Court of Appeals, handling felony cases to make sure that people who had harmed the community were held accountable, and that crime victims were protected, and that our communities were kept safe. So I first argued in front of the Wisconsin Supreme Court in 1998. And as a prosecutor, I always looked at my job as all those things, protecting our community and protecting crime victims, but also doing justice. And because I was involved at a point in the process that was really all about developing the law and making sure that Supreme Court decisions in criminal cases gave good guidance and direction to prosecutors and defense attorneys and law enforcement. I always had to look at the bigger picture about what was needed to do justice. But then after that, I served in Governor Jim Doyle's administration, helping lead state agencies. I was chief legal counsel in the governor's office. And then after that, I was in private practice, protecting the rights of ordinary Wisconsinites in our courts.
Absolutely remarkable. It's as a commentator, my role is to just share my thoughts on and my perspective on things. And again, as I mentioned, your experiences as a sibling of a special needs child and an adult. I also have to tell you that I'm a homicide survivor. I'm a sexual violence survivor and a domestic violence survivor. So the work that you have done and that you want to promote that work and make sure that people know that you are there for the justice. And here's the thing: we know that the crime that happens, there's also another side to that, an issue that comes from the inequities in our society. And Wisconsin is so pivotal in our democracy, and we worked very hard on the last race. And we're not supposed to talk about what your political perspective is, and yet we have this framing of liberal and conservative, and that's driven a lot by the people who are serving in the General Assembly. I'm not going to put you on the spot about that. So tell us a little. Appreciate it. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the things that you see happening in Wisconsin that you want to make sure that people understand is really so tantamount as we move forward in this experiment of democracy.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Patty. I'm going to take the long view on this. We've seen in Wisconsin periodically times when our rights have really been threatened. With the Dobbs decision, for example, after 50 years of women being able to count on their constitutional right to make their own decisions about their health care, about their families, the Supreme Court stripped that away because of a change in the personnel on the U.S. Supreme Court. And as a result, we now have a couple of cases moving through the Wisconsin Supreme Court that will determine whether women are able to make their own choices about their families and about their health care, whether doctors will be able to provide those services to women, or whether we're going to become another state like Texas where women are literally bleeding to death on a hospital gurney while their doctors struggle to decide if they're close enough to dying to get the health care they need. So, this race is a race that has some really significant consequences. There are literally issues that are life or death issues for Wisconsin citizens. That's just one of them. Our public safety, obviously, always an issue in these races, and that's why I talk about my career as a prosecutor, work I did at state agencies to protect the public, and work that I've done as a judge. I have sentenced people, and when I believed that they need to be put away in a prison to keep our community safe, I have done that. And I also want to just thank you, Patty, for talking publicly about your history as a survivor of domestic violence and all those other things you mentioned, because I think it's really important for people to hear about those life experiences and understand what's at stake. That really helps to put some facts on the ground when it comes to public safety. And I haven't really talked about my opponent in this race yet, Patty, but Brad Schimel has, his record on public safety is unfortunately a really weak one. He served as our state attorney general, top lawyer in the state, had a responsibility at the Wisconsin Department of Justice to make sure that sexual assault kits, that is evidence that is taken from the body of a crime victim, because when it's a sexual assault, the scene of the crime is the person's body, and that evidence is gathered by a nurse and put into a kit for safekeeping so that it can be tested. DNA testing can be done so that the perpetrator can be found and prosecuted. Well, Brad Schimmel had a backlog of 6,000 of those cases and failed to get them tested. You know, I don't know whether it was incompetence or just deliberate disregard for the priorities of the office, but he didn't get it done. And we don't need somebody like that on our Wisconsin Supreme Court. We need people who understand that crime victims need to be protected and offenders need to be held accountable. And that's one of the many reasons that I'm running this race.
I couldn't be more grateful for your candidacy in this race. Again, we are talking to Judge Susan Crawford, candidate for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. You can go to crawfordforwi.com. crawfordforwi.com, and we're going to have more conversations when your schedule allows. You have a lot to do. And here's the thing, judges can't tell you that they're campaigning or ask you for money or all those kinds of things, but you know who can? I can. So go to crawfordforwi.com and make sure right there when you get to the page, you can learn more about Judge Susan Crawford, her career, her experiences. And I really am grateful that you're running. I know you're on a tight schedule. We're so grateful for your time. And we will be up in Wisconsin. We're actually going to talk to our friend Anita Locke up in Walworth County for the Dems. I'll be coordinating some more time for bringing up our neighbors, because Fibs for Wisconsin is one of my favorite things I've done in my entire life. The way Wisconsin goes, folks, is how the country goes, and there's no getting around that. And Judge, I can't thank you enough for your service, for your passion and commitment to our democracy and the safety of everyone and the protection of our rights. So I want to wish you the very best. Is there anything else you wanted to make sure folks knew about before I let you go?
Well, Patty, I think we covered a lot of great ground here. But, the thing I mainly want voters in Wisconsin to understand is that, I'm running this race to protect them and to protect their rights. And I've really pledged to be a fair, impartial justice and to make common sense decisions that, keep in mind that those decisions are about people's lives. So that's why I'm doing this.
Excellent. Well done, my friend. I look forward to seeing you very soon, and I'll be telling your neighbors in Wisconsin more about your career, your commitment, and the work that you do to protect everyone. Thank you so much, Judge.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Patty.
Anytime. Thank you so much. Go get them.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's different with judges. We have to have different conversations because they're not campaigning, but they are, but they're not. I don't know. Maybe in Wisconsin it's different, but what an incredible career and an incredible candidate running for the Supreme Court of Wisconsin, Judge Susan Crawford. Go to crawfordforwi.com and get involved in this campaign. And we're going to Wisconsin. I need you guys. I need more of us to show up. I'll make more buttons. Fibs for Wisconsin. Let's go. Also, the Broad Stop has really good food. Just saying. More in a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal.
The Randy Rhodes Show.
Oh, congratulations to the Fox and Friends weekend morning host, who's now our Secretary of Defense. He's a veteran, everybody. I know, I'm a veteran, too. I'm pretty sure I wasn't on any of Kamala's short list for any cabinet position. But, oh, my God, these pits, it's almost like... Well, there's a word for it. It's called patronage. Right here, right now on WCPT 820, weekdays 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and what a great conversation with Judge Susan Crawford. And Jim, which Supreme Court do you want to talk about, my friend?
Anyway, I think I know you got a busy show. Okay.
It's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, but I'm absolutely. I can't even describe the word. The four judges decide, and I've heard this legal case from every angle you can think of. There's no way the Supreme Court could take this case. There's no way. They took it in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
So if you talk about what justice, how do you go to law school when this law in the United States is so out of whack?
Yep. I don't know.
I mean, what do they? Yeah, I mean, you would start if you went to law school. You would start with some of the Supreme Court cases. I imagine you'd study. This case is phenomenal. Every person they talked to or heard from, oh no way, they're not going to take that case. That's a civil case in New York, and there's no precedent for it, and so on and so forth. 4 judges were willing to let this lunatic pretend that it never happened. 34 felony counts never happened. So how in the hell?
I don't know if you noticed in my conversation with Judge Susan Crawford, I did not give, I did not ask her about anything politically. I didn't ask her about President Trump. No, but I'm saying, to your point, they're not supposed to be political. Like legally, when I have judges with a conscience, with ethics, we've had many judges on the show in studio, and I steer away, and they will redirect me where they can't talk about specific things when it comes to abortion, when it comes to the death penalty. Like they will sort of redirect because, and I'm not saying every judge that has, I guess, morals, will do. I'm just saying these folks, the Heritage Foundation, the Federal Society, they have for decades been growing these justices with a singular intention, which is to direct our country and bend it to their will, to the billionaires, to the religious, the fanatics, whether it's abortion, whether it's how our money is used, taxation, all those things. And I can't, clearly Judge Cannon, and here's the thing. The problem with someone like Merrick Garland is I don't want to call him lily-livered. Isn't it lily-livered? Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. He's lily-livered, right? Is it this guy thinks that we are still playing by the rules, and guys like Dick Durbin, and I get that he's done a lot of things behind the scenes, making sure that some of the judges are in place. He's been appointed, making sure that that's happening behind the scenes. But we keep pretending like they're playing by the rules, with the idea that when this is all over, we still need to have the rules. If they destroy everything, what friggin' difference do the rules make, Jim? I'm with you. I don't know where we go from here. If Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Thomas, and Alito, and I told you the other day, Sam Alito was on the phone. Oh my God, with Trump talking about someone he wanted to be on the new administration staff. Like, how are we on the phone with what the? Oh!
I know, but I mean, think of this. Here's a judge. Well, they're always blaming the Democrats for patronage, and here he's calling Trump with a patronage job for one of his relatives.
Well, let's be honest, Jim. Let's be honest with you. They talk about patronage. They mostly talk about us here in Chicago. I mean,
yeah, but Patty, they've been using whoever took the
not
first
for nothing,
office.
But we do a lot of that. I can point people in my neighborhood.
But I had a few jobs myself. My point is, everybody uses the Republican. You ever been in the Wheaton courthouse? That's all Republican patronage. Anyway, but what's really frustrating is pretending that there are two. This is just absolutely beyond belief. You got a judiciary who's gone completely. They don't care.
Yeah,
they could care less.
No,
there's no. Yeah,
no,
they could care less.
No, they.
He's going to appoint 2 more judges. You can imagine one of our liberal judges get. And it shouldn't even be that way. It should be your own conscience be your guide. But say one of our liberal judges is going to get sick. Now he's going to solidly sink that. That court will be. I'll be dead, long gone. You'll be about 85 with the help of God, and you'll still be fighting this court.
Yeah,
and it's just sickening. It's just absolutely sickening. I don't know how he got to this place. I don't know how he got here.
Jim, Dwayne Kennedy has mentioned in the past that sometimes he'll be at home and just how's Jim doing tonight? Jim, do we have your contact info? Do you have like a in case of emergency contact, just so we know that you're okay in case we don't hear from you for a while? Because
don't worry. Listen. When I was a kid, I used to use this expression. I'm okay if you're okay.
Okay.
There was a book called that. If I'm okay, you're okay. Anyway, Patty, have a great weekend. Thank you.
Jim, I don't like the way we ended that. Okay, so if you're okay, I'm okay, or if I'm okay, you're okay.
That's a book. That's a book.
I get it.
It was a bestseller. It was a bestseller in the 70s.
All right.
I'm okay and you're okay.
All
That's
right.
about the size of it.
Yeah.
Because face it, Patty, we all got to walk that lonesome valley. So I mean, all of us. I'm talking to you. You have to.
Yeah.
Everybody has to.
Right.
So there's no point in trying to put it off. But this court is out of their skull.
Yep.
And Trump. How about the headlines on the European network? Trump says it wasn't fair. It was the worst experience of my life. The worst experience of his life.
Yeah.
In the meantime, he said, how many people did he send to prison?
Yeah.
What, 1,500 people to prison?
How many people did he send to prison? Jim, how many people went to their graves because of this MFR? Did I say that okay with the? Yeah, I think I did okay.
No, that's fine with me, kiddo. Listen, I know you got a jam-packed show. Have a great weekend, Patty. Thank you much.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Jim. What are we drinking tonight? What are we drinking? Because I'm thinking a little Tullamore Dew later. What do you have?
Well, I Notre Dame one, thank God. Because
my husband, who does not like, so my father-in-law went to Notre Dame, and it was so sweet. We were getting Declan ready for bed last night, right? And I heard in the background, and I haven't heard Steve get excited about a football game in years, and he was screaming because this went into overtime, right? It was like there was a kick. Oh my God!
Down to the last 30 seconds of the game.
Okay, so 30 seconds.
What I was doing was I got home by that time and I've got the classic music on, and I put the Notre Dame classic music. So it was 30 seconds left, and the Lions had the ball, and I just had a funny feeling. I said something weird's going to happen. Sure enough, I turn it back. The announcer was all for the Nittany Lions. He goes, "Oh, can he make that goofy mistake?" Now this is you can tell his bias. You can tell his bias. But anyway, I couldn't get it on my TV, so I had margaritas at this joint down the street. But you know what's weird about it? I didn't check the price. I didn't have my glasses, so I had like 3. I went, Jesus, this is enough. So I with the tip was like $50. I'm like, this joint. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how kids go out today. I don't know how they go out today.
Oh no.
Huh?
I look. I have. Let's just say that I got a stash in my freezer. There's a new local vodka that I like. By the way, Jim, I'll find. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a little bit like Grey Goose. It's nice.
But what the kids do today, when I was a kid, anyway, I could blow all over the city. I had bar tabs all over the city. In fact, when I was talking to the guys on Saturday night,
Paul
they brought up the Chinaman guy. The joint was Jimmy Woggs.
Oh God,
Jimmy and I drank together many a night, and when I lived downtown, I loved this Hong Kong steak. So I called him. He did deliver. I said, Jimmy, can you get me a steak over here? Yeah, don't worry about it, Jim. He sent it in a cab. A couple of times I had a steak delivered there. But Jimmy and I were great friends.
Wow.
But the joint that they were talking about was. I can't remember the name of the joint, but it was it had Hawaiian, they had the bamboo, all that stuff.
One of the tiki bars, right? I texted it. I thought it was Lost Lake, but it was not Lost Lake that closed down years ago, and I can't remember the name of it either. I was listening to you and I, Jim. We were like, "Oh, I've been there. I had some good times there."
I know. There's not a joint in the city. Anyway,
all right,
take care.
I'll talk to you next week. Thank you. Take care. I still need to know what your emergency contact is. We need to make sure Jim's okay. We need Jim for the next 4 years. I'm not going to make it. All right, let's take a break here. We'll come back with our good friend Reid McCollum when we come on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Thanks for hanging in.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home. Joining us on the air right now is Reid McCollum, chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage County. It's our monthly conversation with our good friend. Hey, Reid, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, Patty, happy Friday. Hope folks are staying warm and, enjoying the snow.
Does it? Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. Enjoying the snow it's not terrible. And, we've left our Christmas tree up. My husband said next week we're taking it down. I'm like, I need more joy.
Yeah.
It's like, and then now it's a white Christmas.
That's totally normal.
Exactly.
You can leave it up until the tree and the lights. We leave the lights up until maybe April.
Fair enough. So congratulations again on your new role as the chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage County. So it's sort of this weird period. I know that, I don't know if you listened to Stephanie Miller, but John Fugelsang was on this morning talking about this weird period between, there doesn't feel like a lot's getting done. He kind of wishes that Trump was already in office so we could get people riled up and point to all the things that are just crazy. So what is this period like for, Democrats who are volunteering, who are trying to get engaged? What is it like in this moment right now for you guys?
Well, I do think there is a little bit of just people escaping it and just kind of trying to process and finish processing. And I think that can be healthy in a way. But I am hoping that after the inauguration and the executive orders, which just God only knows how bad those will be, that'll wake people up and people will be ready to it'll wake people up, but other folks will be ready to sort of say, okay, now we know what we're facing and there will be more clear actions that we can take. And we're scheduling a volunteer expo for basically February 8th, so perfectly timed for people that sort of want to get back in and get organized to hear about campaigns, organizations, ways to get involved locally. Because when you think about things like you see in the news, like Trump wants to take over Greenland, it's just like, what do you do on your drive home? What is the action that you can take when this idiot wants to invade Greenland? It's just like demobilizing. And then so thinking about what folks can do, it's like it's your local school board race, your civic government, your libraries, your park districts, and we in Illinois are really lucky that our local races have that election on April 1st. And so channeling that sort of just energy that we've got wanting to take action, like the best place to put that is coming up for April, not only here in Illinois, but obviously, I know you had the judge in Wisconsin on and, wearing a different hat, organizing postcards for that. So all of the things that we can do this spring to make sure that we're fighting back and helping get good folks elected.
It all matters, and I'm so grateful for that. And you in DuPage, all the folks in DuPage County who've been doing the work of making sure that we elevate and amplify the message of Democrats. I work with so I've known Rick Easer for for over 23 years now, and I'm so proud to have worked on that campaign.
The funniest Democrat.
What was that?
The funniest Democrat is a comedian.
Well, he's not a comedian.
He's a local comedian.
Is he? Is it Ricky? Well, Rick promotes comics, and he is very funny. And he has had a long career of working on the board in Carroll Stream. But he's an example of, the long game, because that was not a blue area for a long time. Tell us a little bit about how much progress you guys have made in DuPage County.
Oh, man. I started getting involved 8 years ago, right after Trump won the first time, and there were 2 elected Democrats at the county level. Now we have a supermajority on the board. We control the board, the forest preserve. You can't live in DuPage County and have a Republican member of Congress. So, it has been a mobilizing boon for us to have Trump in the White House the first time, even though we have to take advantage of it because there's a Republican sheriff who is a menace in DuPage County. In fact, the Republicans just elected my counterpart, the new Republican county Republican organization chairman, Kevin Coyne, is a Trump fanboy and right-wing extremist. And that is what the Republicans are planning to do, is not to moderate or to back off the Trump agenda, but to double down in DuPage County. It hasn't worked for them before, but we have to stay vigilant and continuing to make sure that we're getting good Democrats elected out here. We've been effective, but we can't take anything for granted, because we have to make sure we're protecting people's rights from the school board all the way to the sheriff's office in DuPage County.
I want to go back for a second, because you mentioned that you got involved after Trump won the first time. And I think a lot of folks, believe me, the night that he won was when I decided I would run for office, and I did in 2019. I think a lot of folks were motivated like you were. For those who were like, okay, what do I do? Or just thought, there were a lot of folks who thought, well, how bad can it be? He even said it. How bad can I be? Right, in 2015, 2016. And we found out, right? So we saw that in this election, a lot of people, 15 million people decided to not even vote. But we know that those who did, who got involved, who volunteered, are probably feeling a little bit, we're feeling wounded. We're licking our wounds. Tell us a little bit about, getting involved now, why it's so important to come to an event like you have coming up for the Expo on February 8th, that it really is empowering, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize what a difference volunteering and getting involved locally can make, and just how each person sort of in civic engagement can make a huge difference. Like you think about sort of the huge national problems, and I joked about Trump wanting to, was I joking? I don't know. He wants to invade Greenland, so that's real. But that or something like an issue like climate change or the loss of reproductive rights, and it's just, when you think about it as something that is only relevant to D.C., you sell yourself short in terms of the impact that you can have. And the secret that a lot of us learn, this, is that getting involved makes you feel so much better about how you process all the stuff that's happening. You can find time in your life and just make that, a habit in terms of what you do in your weekly schedule, is to do some good in the community. And whether it's running for school board or showing up to your local Indivisible group, or, come out to the Expo, we'll have groups like Moms Demand Action, Indivisible, Planned Parenthood, the NAACP, Elmhurst Pride Collective, and just, meeting other people that spend time doing good work is just really rewarding. And that's what I found as well. I'm sure you have as well.
Well, we'll be there. I'm going to be there on, it's my mom's birthday, and maybe I'll bring my mom. But I plan on being there with our good friend Jerry Walski, because I do want to connect with folks and remind them that we have these conversations here. One of the, reminders of this election is how much media is dominated by the oligarchy. That's the only way I can put it. That billionaires have bought up all the media space, whether it's social media, broadcast radio, television. We're closing, that 2 newspapers fold every single week. I mean, it's insane. And we don't have access to that.
We should have Mark Zuckerberg on a dartboard. Should we do pin and tail on Mark Zuckerberg? I'm just spitballing here on a Friday.
Yeah. I mean, I would rather have him in a dunk tank, but that's not, I mean, I don't know what to fill a dunk tank with, but we'll do, I think that we could do remember when the carnivals, you would have the clown faces you would shoot a water gun into, and then the balloons, that kind of thing. And it's a water gun, folks. We're not, we're just saying, just for all in good fun and raising money and awareness and getting folks involved. So where do folks go to find out more about what you're doing, how to volunteer, and as you mentioned, learn about the calls to action every week and coming to this event on February 8th?
Yeah, I mean, if folks live in DuPage, or even if you live close to DuPage, or even if you want to come out and help, joining our email newsletter, we send a really great weekly newsletter out, and you can do that at our website, which is just DuPageDemocrats.com. We have information about this expo, which is Saturday, February 8th at 10 a.m. at College of DuPage, which is in Glen Ellen. So folks don't have to sign up or register. Just swing by College of DuPage on Saturday, February 8th. You'll be there, like you mentioned. We have a lot of great organizations, campaigns. A lot of our Democratic Township organizations are going to be there. So a lot of different opportunities for folks to get involved. But yeah, that's really it. It's just join our newsletter, come out to that expo. We have a really exciting, our big fundraising gala is in early March. We've got Anderson Clayton, who is the incredible 26-year-old state party chair of the Democratic Party of North Carolina, as our keynote speaker.
Oh, excellent.
State Representative Nabila Zayed is going to come speak. She was elected at the age of 23, the youngest state representative that we have. She doesn't even have DuPage, but she's just incredible and dynamic. And we're going to have sort of a youth-focused gala on March 2nd. So that's another cool way that people can get involved and hear some really dynamic speakers and help us fund the work that we do to get Democrats elected.
Outstanding. Again, Reid McCollum has really been sharing so much great information. He's the chair of the DuPage County Dems, the Democratic Party of DuPage County. And I look forward to having these monthly conversations and making sure we get folks involved. And we should probably talk, even though, let's talk the week of February 8th, but ahead of that so that folks know that they can come out and enjoy this event. I look forward to meeting folks there. We'll have some swag to give out, folks, so come and join us. We'll see what else we got from our sponsors, from the show, and, of course, learning about all the campaigns going, the candidates who are running, and whether it's local or national, you need to be involved and engaged. Reid, what are you doing this weekend? How are you taking care of yourself as we head into the inauguration day on the 20th?
Well, I'm about to go out to dinner with my wife because my daughters have a dance rhinestoning party where it's exactly as fun as you'd think. From 6 hours, they put in extra rhinestones on dance competition dresses. So that means we get a date night, and then got a great Indivisible organization thing, and then the Democratic Women of DuPage have a big event on Sunday. So kind of, that's what I do.
I love it. Oh, well, thank you so much for all that you do and everyone with the DuPage County Dems or the Democratic Party of DuPage. We really appreciate your time, your commitment, your passion on getting this done and supporting so many people in your community and beyond. Thank you, Reid. It's Reid McCollum. And again, the website again, one more time. So folks.
DuPageDemocrats.com.
Outstanding. Have a great date night. My best to your family.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Let's take a break here. I've got a few minutes to take some phone calls. WCPT 820 Heartland Signal 773-763-9278. More when we come back.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Hey, everybody. We continue to drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and Roosevelt has been patient enough on the line. Hey, Roosevelt, how you doing tonight on this snowy, wintry day in Chicago?
Fantastic, Patty. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
Just lovely.
Just lovely.
When you destroy the laws of this country, when the court just does a comedy. It's like a comedy show. It's like I think this is much more like a James Bond movie where I'm telling you, I heard someone talk about Elon Musk being a Bond villain, and for the record, I want to say I called that months ago. Like, I did not know that there were people who cheered for the villains in Bond movies or cheered for the Joker. Like, he's interesting and I get it, he's compelling, but you do not elect the person that the Joker is working with. Well,
or
here's the deal,
Silvertooth, or whoever, like Golden Eye. I'm sorry, go ahead. I can't. I'm just. Okay.
I want to add on to what Jim was saying. As far as the court and as far as this whole thing, fiasco. It's okay. How are you going to get this guy to pay anything that he owes? That's my question. Once he's in, if he has the reins for all these laws, if he has immunity, he's still going to take. How is he going to take anything serious now? How is it? Like I said before, E. Jean Carroll, she has money owed to her. I mean, that he owes to. The other idiot, Giuliani, he has money. He hasn't paid either. So it's like the waiting game. They're waiting to get in so they can just, hey, the heck with it. Who's going to force? Here's my question. Who's going to force Trump or get Trump to, like I said, to pay his dues of what he's done, of his crimes? And now, instead of the lies, you're going to keep a count on the crimes. How many crimes is he going to commit once he's in now? Whereas before you had some sense of, of keeping, not only keeping track, but the fact that, he didn't have the reins to this thing. Now he's got complete control, basically, because there's nothing holding him back. What holds him back?
It's all as maddening as you are describing. And beyond that, there's so much more at stake, which is all the people, whether it's John Fugelsang mentioned this on Stephanie Miller's show this morning. How do you tell your kids what's right and wrong when the President of the United States doesn't do anything that's right? When Nick Fuentes said, "Your body, my choice forever," he's not alone in that. And it's not just his followers. It's happening all over. I think I told this story not long after the election, when I was just going to the dentist's office and this guy accosted me because I was standing trying to take down the number for the parking sign to pay for my meter, and he's like, "Can I help you?" Because I was standing next to his car. Here's a white dude who felt perfectly. And look, women are used to this. And women of color and people of color, and are used to this sort of like, what are you up to? What are you doing here? Right?
Yeah.
What's your business here? Right? And now it's emboldened by pieces of crap like the President of the United States. I'm sorry. I have people
That's
like
the truth.
Yeah, I don't have to tell you. Like that there's no guardrails. Like at least there was shame. Yeah. There used to be shame in being crap.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That word that you just mentioned, my mother constantly mentions it. I've heard it 1,000 times. I tell my mom, vergüenza. In Spanish is vergüenza.
Yes, vergüenza. ¿No tienes vergüenza?
Yeah, right. But here's the thing. I tell my ma, and I go, why doesn't it get through to you, ma? We're not talking about a human being, first of all. We're not talking about a person that thinks of other people or puts himself in other people's shoes, okay? So we're not dealing with a human being. I don't know what he is, but human he's not. Okay, as far as the sense of the word of being good, to your point, what you just said, how do you tell your kids? Now you got to tell the kids, well, not only now, but we've done it before, don't be like this president.
Yeah, yes.
And the whole sense, the whole point of this country is freedom, and now he's turned this, even the word freedom, it's freedom to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
It's flipped. It's completely flipped. You know what I'm saying? And how are you going to take anybody that's a Republican or a Trump supporter, anybody serious as far as what they used to say? Remember what they used to say? The Constitution. They're constitutionalists. They support the Constitution. They're conservative. The word conservative. There you go again. How is this conservative? How are you conserving the laws of this land? How are you conserving the Constitution?
It's not about you and I both know the answer to that. It's about conserving white Christian nationalism in the image of white men.
And to your point, I want to add on, in closing, his followers, they're also going to have the full reign of it. Because as long as they're white, as long as they are Trump supporters, what's going to happen? And now with all these idiots, and I know I said in closing, and now with all these idiots bending the knee, I'm talking about Zuckerberg and Bezos and Elon Musk.
Hey,
they're basically
what besides being uber wealthy, what's also another connective tissue there? What all those names, just think of all their faces. What do you see?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
White men.
That's what I'm saying. And then to boot, you got a guy like Musk. He's not even born here. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
I don't know, man. But it's going to be. I'll tell you one thing. I hope it's not range of terror. Meaning, I hope he doesn't do what he says he's going to do, because it's. I don't know. I like the fact that Adam Kinzinger, what he said on Stephen Colbert's show, that he hasn't done anything wrong. That's a great point. But to defend the Constitution.
You mean Kinzinger hasn't? Or What do you mean?
No. I'm talking about. Did you see the Stephen Colbert interview with Adam Kinzinger?
I haven't watched any. I haven't watched any like mainstream television. I'll stream stuff. It's
okay.
Honestly, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, let me give it to you real quick.
Yeah.
So Bernie Sanders is trying to convince Biden to give pardons to people like Adam Kinzinger. Stephen Colbert asked him, "Do you want a pardon?" Basically, he asked him. And he goes, no, because I haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
And he goes, what? He goes, if he puts me in jail, even in jail, I'm going to give him, headaches because he didn't do anything wrong but defend the Constitution. Where's his crime in order to jail him? Where's Cheney's crime in order to jail her?
I'm still in the headspace of like some of these people led us down this path. They led us down this path. I get that they're doing a lot, and I appreciate it. But man, oh man, I appreciate that. Maybe we'll reach out because I am salty about some of these folks. I mean, Cheney's legacy alone.
And here's one for you. It just came to mind. So you're going to put people that come from another country in jail, and that's a crime. But the things he did is not a crime.
Yep. The madness. The madness. I can't.
Right.
There's so many levels to this. Yeah. As long as we're here for each other, we're going to keep going. What are you doing this weekend to take care of your?
You're going to have to keep it. All right.
What are you doing this weekend? Bye. No, don't buy me. What are you doing this weekend to take care of yourself? Bye. What are you doing?
Oh. Nothing really. Just keeping low, eating some good food.
Ooh, what are we
eating? And watching the playoffs. NFL, right. Baby. NFL.
Okay, what are you eating and who are you rooting for?
Well, here's the thing. I'm going for the Chiefs again.
Okay,
I like
me too.
That guy.
Yes.
I like that quarterback.
Yeah, Mahone?
I like that quarterback.
Yes.
And you know who else I like? Yeah. I like that guy from Baltimore because that man has tried, and he gets just real close, and then, something happens to him. He's injury prone. I like that. I like Baltimore, and I like Chiefs. That kid is good.
Yeah,
and good in the sense of the word good.
All right, we're into the Chiefs. I'm with you, my friend. All right, thanks, Roosevelt. Take care of yourself.
You.
All right, enjoy some good food, too. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation when we come back. Our number is 773-763-9271. That's the number to call or text to join the conversation. And we have our good friend Anita from the Walworth Dems coming up at 6:30. I got a lot of door knocking to do. I'm so tired, you guys. All right, more in a moment. Why want this? Okay, there.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us as we drive it home. And we want to thank our wonderful listeners in the evenings on KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota, as we broadcast here out of WCPT 820 Heartland Signal in Chicago. And, of course, we are broadcast on – you can listen to all of our shows on TuneIn live. You can also catch us on Spotify. And if you miss anything on all of our shows, while we used to be broadcast, we used to share all of our podcasts on SoundCloud, where you can still find all of our old shows if you want to look for some of the interviews we've done, the conversations we've had for all of our shows here. You can find them on SoundCloud. But now we're also available. We are available now on places like YouTube and Apple Podcasts, all the places you find your podcasts now. And often we have our highlighted interviews. For example, Richard Chu interviewed Mayor Brandon Johnson this morning. What a great interview. And look, I went into it. I wasn't quite sure. I'll be honest, I struggle because of some of the things that have been happening over the last year. And I think that Richard's interview with Brandon Johnson really shines a light on some of the accomplishments and the results that Brandon Johnson has gotten. And I wasn't expecting that. Can I be honest with you? I was not expecting that, and it was tremendous. So please check out the interview with Mayor Brandon Johnson that Richard Chu had this morning. And you can find that on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio. You can find that on Chu's Views. And, of course, he is on live from 6 to 8 a.m. weekdays right here on WCPT. And coming up on Monday, he'll be taking your calls and talking to Jenny Rowland Shea, Director of Public Lands at the Center for American Progress. So we have been talking over the last couple of days. Of course, one of the things top of mind, our hearts are with our friends in Los Angeles. And I say that in the fact that I've been trying really hard to manage my emotions on the air because I have so many friends. I have hundreds of friends that live in Los Angeles, some of my closest and dearest friends. I've talked in the last couple months about a dear friend of mine who passed away in November, the extraordinary Kristen McAllister, who lost her battle with cancer just after the election, and her husband, James Vickery, who continues to live in Los Angeles, close to the Paramount Studios. Of course, that area is not, but that is not an area that has been under evacuation. I simply cannot imagine what it would be like right now with your city under this catastrophe. And James right now, I'm saying this because there's so much hatred out there right now, so much ugliness that is happening. Basically like, oh, they're all wealthy. It's this, all these millionaires are losing their houses. And there are so many small ways in which people are being traumatized, losing their lives. There are 5 people, I believe, so far who have died, their homes that have been destroyed. And you say whatever you want about people who are in the entertainment industry. You might think of, we hear some of these names that are coming out, but think of the fact that show business is truly run by working class people, many of whom are living below the poverty line. There are so many people that are living day to day. They're couch surfing. And now I'm not just talking about actors that go out there, comedians that go out there, models, whatever. The lighting, the sound, the crew that makes sure that the sets are built. These are folks that are on feast and famine, meaning that when you're in show business, it is feast or famine. Sometimes you get a big check and sometimes you get 51 cents. And I'm not joking when I say that. It's one of the reasons I've stayed in Chicago. And Stephanie mentioned this earlier. You're angry at the people that pursued their dreams. I chose mine in a different way where I'm a very practical person, and I wanted to move to Los Angeles. And I'll tell you the reason I didn't move. I'll be very honest about it. My father, I had an apartment. I had a security deposit down for an apartment in Los Angeles. And it was near the La Brea Tar Pits, I guess, is the best area to explain it. And my father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer in 2001. And I decided that for my family, for my future, for my mother, for my husband, where I wanted to be when something like this happened, whether it was my dad or my mom or my husband's family, I needed to be here. And I don't regret that at all. I love my life. I wanted to do that too. I wanted to go and risk it all. And I was young. I was 29 and I was ready to go. And there are people who do that. And some of them succeed wildly beyond their dreams. And there are people who go out there and they wait tables and they still deserve our compassion, our empathy, our support. I might not have done all the things, right? I've done all the things that I set out to do, which is have these conversations, share important stories. And that's what I intended to do when I was, and I know that I'm injecting myself into this story because so many of my friends did risk it all to go out there. And so, again, some of them wildly successful, some of them who are, living in one-bedroom apartments and living their lives, having love, having incredible adventures, having incredible trauma. I mean, all of the life's experiences. So these people who are using this moment to politicize it. I mean, honestly, please find me a moment where I, as a liberal, said anything about anybody in any part of the country, Texas, North Carolina, Florida, when they've had catastrophes where I've been like, well, they deserve it. Please find me that friggin' audio. I would please show me that, because when there were hurricanes coming down on North Carolina and Florida, do you know what the Republicans were doing? Saying that Democrats control the weather. You know what? Then why aren't we controlling the rain clouds and washing out the fires right now? If we could do that to a blue state, why aren't we just showering them to put the fires out? What crapola have we stepped into by electing these morons? Okay, everybody. At any rate, these fires, to give you a little bit of context, if you're familiar with the Chicago fire, right, that destroyed our city and we had to rebuild from, right, and in a different time period when we didn't have the kind of social media that is easily accessible now, when we didn't have the kind of, believe me, we had the uber wealthy, we had the train barons or whatever, we had all kinds of people in the late 1800s who took advantage of that moment. But to give you some scale, there's some folks that are sharing maps about what the acreage was. Man, I just lost the map, but it's massive in comparison to what the land mass that was the land that was on fire here in Chicago compared to just Pacific Palisades. It would be the entire city of Chicago that would be on fire, essentially. Pacific Palisades is a massive area. Over 2,000 homes and businesses have been lost. Over 100,000 people have been displaced. And, folks have been talking about, someone called yesterday about the opportunities to go out there and do construction work. And I'm so hesitant to say, yeah, you should go out there and work, when I know I was in Montana in the summer of 23, and there are really wealthy folks that are building homes in Bozeman, Montana, and the people who are working construction there are homeless. There are companies that essentially go to the homeless shelters and pick up, and mostly Mexican migrants or migrants from Latin America. They pick them up from homeless shelters to go work on multi-million-dollar structures. And I don't know what kind of energy there will be behind making sure that the work that is done is making sure that we pay laborers their worth, because this is going to be a Herculean effort to rebuild these homes. And I don't know, I think it was during Jones' show, is that the destruction that's happened also destabilizes the ecostructure there, right? They're already vulnerable to mudslides, right? To all kinds of erosion on the soil. I mean, the way that I'll be honest, the other reason that part of me is grateful that things turn out the way, not just because I'm here for my family, to be with my mom, to build a life with her in this community and raise my children here, but they build houses on the sides of mountains, you guys. I mean, like, when you walk out on a balcony and think, well, this would really suck if it fell. Yeah. But it is a very vulnerable area. Here, Mark messaged me. Mark, I've lived in Los Angeles for several years, and when I retired, I lived in Palm Springs for a couple of years. I'm back in Chicago. I'm so glad you never left to go out there. You would probably have been on TV a lot, but I think about all the people you're helping here. Oh, well, thank you for that. Thank you. I'll be honest, my heart was never in moving to Los Angeles. It was entirely for career. And I've talked to Dwayne about this, Dwayne Kennedy in studio a lot. I'm so glad to have come to the point where I can choose what I enjoy doing, and not everybody gets to do that. And I'm not wildly wealthy. I'm not at all. I'm a working class woman. I am. I'm not paycheck to paycheck anymore. I still have to figure out how to pay off debt and prepare for my retirement while raising an adult child with disabilities. But these conversations with you, connecting with folks, helps me too. I told Lady B this last night. Like, this is my home and my heart, and I've built a family here. I feel incredibly safe and supported at WCPT, and I can't be more grateful for everyone that I work with here, because I have been on sets in Los Angeles where I looked around and I go, "Is this really what I'm going to do for the next several years?" But it doesn't take away from the fact that the people who have gone there, they have fallen in love with it. My friends who live there, they love it. Mark DiCarlo and Yenny Alvarez, who I'll be staying, I hope, they may be giving their room out to somebody who's homeless, and I may not be going out there. I may go out there and volunteer. I don't know what that plan is yet, because there are hundreds of thousands of people who have been relocated right now, and I can't imagine the horror of that. And for anyone to cast aspersions and blame them or try to make this political when the nonsense that has been coming out of folks' pie holes for months and years in regards to any place that's blue. Man, I just, what is it? How does that brain even work? Does it work? I'm just saying. All right, let's take a break here. We'll come back and take your calls on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. We'd love to hear from you. You can text or call 773-763-9278. And the lovely voice you'll hear when you call is Lady B, Bedalia, Behind the Glass. Thank you so much. More in a moment.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Hey, coming up tomorrow on The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, he'll be talking to Chris Geidner, who writes the Law Dork News. Oh, my God. You guys subscribe to the Law Dork newsletter on Substack. I mean, especially if you want to just stay engaged, but also enraged. So that'll be tomorrow morning. Also, Will Bunch, national columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Oh, you guys, subscribe to the Philadelphia Inquirer. When I canceled my subscriptions to the Washington Post and the New York Times, I picked up the Philadelphia Inquirer. They're an incredible newspaper, and they need our support. They're absolutely doing the work. They're doing the work that needs to be done right now. So subscribe to them. And Duke University history professor. Oh, really? All right, then. Duke University history professor Nancy McClain, my former mentor. Northwestern University. Oh my God! Hold on. Let me see if I can quote Nancy McClain when I told her I was. So I left Northwestern. I was in the history program as a grad student, and that'll be a great conversation. Anyway, to quote Nancy McClain, "Don't let the door hit you on the way out." No, I'll be honest. I told her I wanted to pursue stand-up comedy, and do you know what example she gave me? I said I wanted to be a stand-up comic, and she said, "Well, mind you, this is 1994, everybody, okay?" She said, "Well, Roseanne Barr has done a lot for women in comedy." Sorry. Oh, my God. She also said that Republicans are like autistic people. Anyway, also Michelle Goodwin. She has done tremendous work in the area of racism and the uber wealthy having control over politics. Whew. Oh my God. Michelle Goodwin, professor. Dwayne mentioned yesterday that I've had quite the life, and it just was, Okay. Michelle Goodwin, professor at Georgetown Law, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Central, of course, here on WCPT. Myrna, how are you doing today, my friend? What's on your mind?
Hi. You were mentioning about construction opportunities after the fires. I noticed yesterday one of your callers, I think this was a Freudian slip of his tongue.
Yes. The thing was it about Putin? Was that yesterday? No.
No. He mentioned about somehow you brought up the what's going to happen afterward. When they start cleaning up and rebuilding, and he said, "Yeah, and if you're white, now that would be a good time for you to go get a construction job out there."
I think he said poor whites. Poor whites. He did.
Poor whites?
Yes, he said poor whites.
Okay. Yeah, and then you corrected him by saying or black or Hispanic, and he's like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
It's like, why did he limit it to white?
Well, let me say this. I'm sorry, Myrna. I didn't cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
No, and the reason I didn't want to cut you off is sometimes being on the phone is, as you might know, it can cause a lot of adrenaline in the things you want to say. So I give callers rather than like experts and guests a little more leeway, right? So and I'll have folks text me both on my personal line. Thank you, folks who have my personal number. Correct somebody. Like there was somebody the other day who sounded like they said Putin was a good guy, and I caught that too. And I was trying to figure out what they meant, but I will be honest. I give callers, for the most part, just a wide range because it's hard to call into a radio show. Now, there are exceptions. There are some callers who get angry with me that I don't respond the way they want. Now, that I take issue with. If you're going to call and be and demand something from me when I'm doing this live, that's a different thing. But for folks who kind of throw out their thoughts, maybe it gets jumbled, because it is public speaking without an audience. We think about how hard it is to stand in front of an audience. It's also for a lot of people really terrifying to call in to a radio show because you're kind of talking into the void. So I might not correct everybody. I might not catch every single thing, but I appreciate your concern and that's why we corrected him, right? Or at least nudged. I try to nudge, and believe me, I'll get my I'll get my, that'll come out sometimes.
Yeah, we know you.
Yes. That'll come out sometimes, depending on the moment, the mood. Because look, this is all live. There's no editing. There's no writer. There's no director. I'll get texts from folks who work with the show and be like, hey, don't forget this or mention that. But for the most part, we are flying without a net, and especially with the callers. That's why I'm so grateful that you call, that Jim and Roosevelt and Dave from Hoffman Estates and Paul from Seattle, Steve from Gold Coast, our friend Steve and Matt. I mean, Diane, I'm going to miss a lot of people. But when I hear folks calling other shows, I'm like, oh, I haven't heard from them for a while on my show, on Richard's show. I love you guys calling in so much because I know how hard it is to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So at any rate, to that caller who you might not have been fond of, we've had moments. I've had this before where, and particularly the one that got angry with me from Joliet, I'll be honest, got angry at other listeners. He got angry at another listener. I had to have him on the air together, and then got mad at me because I didn't respond the way he wanted me to. And so I don't, that's a weird thing too. I can't help that.
Okay.
But
one thing.
Yes.
Okay, good. No, I was just going to change the subject just slightly.
Of course.
I forget his name. Your friend, the lawyer.
Renato?
Has an Italian name. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
If you get a chance, could you ask him, now that it's official that Trump is a convicted felon, what is his opinion on how he's going to handle that, since there are, 34 or 43 countries that felons are not permitted to enter?
Ooh.
So he won't be able to visit those as a president.
Isn't it surreal?
So I'm wondering how that's going to be.
But isn't it surreal that he cannot, as a felon, he cannot have a weapon, right? And yet he has the codes, the nuclear codes. What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How are they going to handle that?
Yeah, all of it.
And is he, since he's now able to do whatever he wants according to the Supreme Court, will he be able to pardon himself when he leaves office?
Oh, it was funny. Well, weren't we all surprised he didn't do that last time after January 6th? I don't know. Here's my other question. I think that we all kind of wonder about this. Do you think he's going to make it 4 more years on this planet?
No, I think if he's still alive, seriously, his health to me is I'm surprised he's still going.
Yeah.
Mentally, I think mentally is what's going to do him in. We're going to have J.D. Vance. I would say within. Yeah, I want to say at the 2-year point, possibly we might have him as our president.
Yeah,
and that's. Yeah. I just from the way he's acting now, he's not in office yet, and he's already getting all hyped up and talking even crazier than he did in his first 4 years.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. To me, his mental status is going to do him in before the 2-year point, or around the 2-year point, maybe.
I think you're like me, Myrna, and I think you listen all day, right? Whether it's Tom or Stephanie, Richard, Joan, or me, and all of them, right? Yeah. Did someone call in and wonder if the CIA had a plan? Did you hear that today? Someone mentioned that today, and I kind of laughed. I think I guffawed. I don't even know what like that kind of a thing, because because I had the exact same thought in 2015 and 16. I thought certainly the CIA is not going to let. I mean, the CIA. I mean, like we imagine the CIA to be sort of like this superpower. I've had this problem since. A little bit since in 2000, I thought for sure we were not going to let this happen, right? That it was so close in Florida. For sure, we were going to let the process play out. We weren't going to let the Republicans who controlled the state, including Jeb Bush, and that the Cruella DeVille, who was the Secretary of State down there, and the Republicans on the bench. Like we thought, this is certainly our democracy will prevail, right? And we were like, oh, and we all shrugged and went, oh, I guess that happened. But in 2015. I thought, okay, they're not. I mean, the Republicans, the CIA. I mean, like, I'm sorry, he's choked on a chicken bone. Do you remember when Bush? Remember choked on a pretzel? Like that was. I thought that was going to be right. I thought it was going to be like. I thought it was. He choked on a hamburger, like a sesame seed on the buns from McDonald's. They don't have. Anyway, we had to stop imagining that there's going to be some sort of like intervention, and just go. This is what we had to work with. Yeah. All right, Marina.
Yeah, last thing. Joan had mentioned, someone mentioned that everyone put their hand over their heart at the Jimmy Carter funeral except for Trump.
Yep.
And that's because he doesn't have one, so he didn't know where to put his hand. Pretty simple. Thank you. Nice. Have a good weekend.
Have a good one. Bye, Marina. Bye. Well, you know what? That's a mic drop on Marina's part. Let's honor that.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and hello to our friends listening on KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota, as we broadcast here, WCPT 820, Heartland Signal in Chicago. And I'm very excited for our next guest because I owe her a very long overdue hello, greetings, and gratitude because she texted me on my business line and it got away from me. Anita Locke for the chair of the Walworth County Dems. Anita, I'm so sorry that I haven't gotten to you, and I hope that you had a wonderful vacation. I got your text, and I've been overwhelmed, and you're amazing. Hi, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, and Happy New Year, and no problem. Everybody is just swamped, it seems like, right now.
I'll be very honest, and I shouldn't have done this on the air, but I had last year for all of us was very trying, and I had a magnificent friend who had been battling cancer, and in a very short time after the election, she lost her battle, and I have still, like, everything together has been a lot, but I also, because she was such a champion of human rights, of perseverance, of fighting. I am ready for this, Anita. How are you doing in Walworth?
We are doing good. It's starting out really, really fast and furious.
Yes.
After the year. Can't believe all the stuff that we've got going on at this point.
Yeah, I have to tell you. I mean, you know that I volunteered in several of the offices, and you know that and I don't want. I love Kenosha. I love Racine. Rockville was great. There's nothing more that I look forward to than coming to Elkhorn, Wisconsin, for various reasons. Both the community, the volunteers there. I have to ask you because there was a day when someone went over. I went over, but somebody else had gone over to the GOP office, and there was always just one person there, Anita. Oh,
right.
I went there. I talked to the guy. I said I was a radio host. I zipped in my jacket to cover up my shirt, and I was like, how's it going over here? And they were so confident and so smug. I was like, these guys. And the energy at your office, people coming from all over the country. I can't tell you how grateful I am for the passion you guys all have, the hard work that you did. And does everyone know that it was not for naught, right? Because you did have great successes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, we reelected Tammy Baldwin. That was huge. We made great progress in our assembly races and our Senate race with their maps. So we stopped the supermajority, and we are on track in the 2026 election with a real possibility we can take majority. So fair maps, hard work, and great candidates have made a great difference, and that was a huge success. So overall, even though disappointed at the national, we did have good, really good results from a Wisconsin standpoint.
And not just that, I mean, better than every other swing state.
Yep. Our Ben Wickler, who, as you know, is running for DNC, and needless to say, we're all cheering and doing what we can to get him elected. But he's phenomenal, and I know you've talked to him. He is the best chair that I think the state has ever had, obviously, and we are so supportive that he gets this DNC chair, and I think he will make a huge, huge difference in our next national election coming up in 2026.
I do too. I'm a little bit, part of me I know that he has trained so many people. There are all of you in Wisconsin who do this work are magnificent. Yeah. Yes. And I do get a little bit, I'm like, I mean, part of me goes, I don't want to lose him for Wisconsin. Do you have just a shred of that, a little bit? The sprinkling?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm a human resources background. And, have your CEO leave.
Yes.
It's not a good place to be in. So, yes, absolutely. And, we've got really good people. Is there an heir apparent sitting there? I'm not sure, but with him, he needs to be at the national level to make a difference in terms of strategy and, moving the Democratic Party forward and taking on this Republican challenge we have. So he's the right man, right time, and we'll just have to make it work. We're all going to have to step up a little bit. That's what it's going to be like.
Can you tell me a little bit about any differences in this election with Walworth County in particular, some of the gains? I know we talked about the victories, but did you see, because of the groundwork and the investments that you guys made for the long-term investments, because there's so much that's gone into this. What can you tell us about the change from the last, let's say, 4 years or even 2 years?
Yeah, so I've been involved the last 6 years after I left corporate America, and I can tell you it has, especially since Ben has come in, but we have stepped up the game so much. And this last year, 2024, we had record volunteers. I mean, we had them, couldn't fit them in our office. We had to go to other facilities for these canvassing weekends and stuff. Over 200 in August alone, early September, new volunteers. We've never had that in our past. We've moved our membership from, around 350, 380 up to 500 this last year.
Amazing.
So you just look kind of enthusiasm. We had, thanks to you, a lot of Chicago as well as others that our field organizer. We're lucky to have a really good field organizer brought in. But we had people from California, from East Coast that came to Wisconsin and helped us, because they thought it was so critical. So it was different. It was really different than the governor's race or the prior presidential race, which with COVID obviously was in and of itself a challenge.
I am looking forward to coming back. I'm trying to make some plans because you have. We just talked to Judge Susan Crawford, who's running for the Supreme Court. That's amongst other things. But your next election is April 1st. Okay, how do you?
Yes, go ahead.
I mean,
we're going to fool them, not they fool us. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is a lot. This is crucial because it's not just the Supreme Court of Wisconsin and making sure that we support public education, women's autonomy, maintaining an ungerrymandered map or a supermajority in the General Assembly. But there are other races that folks need to know about. How can we support the work that's coming down the pipe for the next 3 months?
Well, we're going to need the volunteers. We are going to need this Supreme Court race is so critical for all that you just articulated, not to mention if the Republicans take control of that court again, they can reverse things like the fair maps. voting suppression that's going on here, all of the things that this court is already moving forward. Act 10, they reversed Act 10, as you're aware, and that can all be reversed again, right? So, so we are, laser focused, and this amendment, this constitutional amendment that the Republicans are rushing through the legislature right now. I mean, they were swearing people in on Monday, of which Breanne Brown, our Assembly 43, was one of them, our hometown gal. And they were rushing through this constitutional amendment again to get it on the April ballot. This is the second year of the way it works, so they passed it, and they're going to pass it. And we're going to be fighting again to not let that become part of the Constitution, because their whole intent, and they've gone on record, is we need this court to be conservative, so that further challenges to our extreme ID laws. Here we have some of the strictest ID laws in the country, and they've been challenged, not successfully with, obviously conservative court, but we feel we'll have an opportunity to do that. And so there's a hard push on. We were able to defeat last August a constitutional amendment they put on to restrict Governor Evers' powers. The two others that were this last November, with everything else, we did not prevail there. But we have to get Susan in, and we have to get Jill Underly in. She is an important race as well for the education area, given what they're planning, Project 2025, for the Department of Education at the federal level. So we need that firewall there also. So, spring election, normally it's your mayors and, things like that. Yeah. But here we go again. Judge Janet, that was crazy. This one's even more critical for just, all the things that you said and what we see as a make or break. Good news, to some degree, Brad Schimmel, is a really extreme. He's already come out in terms of siding with the J6 individuals convicted and all that kind of thing, that, the election wasn't fair and so forth. So, we'll see how it goes. We were able to prevail with Judge Janet, but it's a little different environment again, particularly with the Trump administration coming in.
Are you getting the sense that the GOP in your area in Walworth County, Wisconsin, is emboldened by Trump's victory?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Ugh. Okay, tell me about the People's March and the white supremacists in your area, I think is what the note I got. What?
Yeah.
Anita? Okay.
We're going to go first. This is all started before Christmas, so I'll take one at a time. People's March I'm very excited about. Walworth has always participated in. It was Women's March, and it was right after Trump took in 2016, and then they've been very good about nationwide marches. But this one, they've really shifted focus. And, it's not just women's rights this time around. They're talking about all of our rights. So defend our rights for now and in the future. So it's obviously women's rights, books, in the libraries issue, not the bonfires. Healthcare is a right, not a privilege. If you believe in free speech and protest to sustain democracy, and if you want an economy that works for everybody, that's what they're trying to get out with this march. So I see it as really good timing. It's right before Trump takes office. And I just looked on my computer a little while ago. They've got over 40,000 people already registered for the D.C. location. And there's, page after page after page of these marches across the country. I'm sure there's some in Chicagoland as well. But ours is on the 18th at 12 o'clock at Veterans Park in Elkhorn. So it's right up the square there. I have a couple great speakers. I'm really excited. We have Tanya Atkinson. She's president.
I know Tanya. She's a former stand comedian. Yes, I know Tanya. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, they come up and be a speaker too. What can I tell you? Are you free?
I was just thinking I should go. I would.
You should.
All right, then go ahead. So Tanya Atkinson, extraordinaire. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, she's going to, obviously speak for Planned Parenthood and all of those issues. Breanne Brown, our Assembly District 43, is going to be there and speak as well. We've got our chair of the College Dems for Wisconsin there, and then I've got a couple other speakers more local. So I think we're going to have a really good rally. We're going to keep it tight. Probably an hour and a half is going to be cold, most likely. But I think it's going to be wonderful to participate in this, nationwide protest, really, and standing up for our rights before this guy gets in office.
I'm going to do I'm sorry. I started coughing when I was listening to I was like, I want to go. Yes, I'm going to do everything I can to be there on the 18th.
Noon on the 18th, yeah. Oh,
right.
We'd love to have.
Oh, my
and
pleasure.
I'll put you on the speaker agenda, so whatever you want to say.
No pressure. No pressure for me. I love you all. I love you all so much. And not just because you have the most extraordinary pulled pork in your crock pots and macaroni and cheese and all the salads.
And good Yeah. Hey, we're doing a cookbook this year, a Walworth County Dem cookbook, because we have so many wonderful. I mean, our hospitality group, I would argue, is the best anywhere in this state. But so we're going to do that. So you'll get a copy for sure.
Oh, please! And I still need to bring Adam Selzer up with me so we can autograph the book that you gave to I believe your daughter.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law. Yeah.
Let's get him up there so we can get that autograph done. We'll make that happen regardless, because I'm not for nothing, but Adam and I are addicted to Elkhorn, Wisconsin. We just kind of.
Well, we love you too. You're always welcome, that's for sure. And you always bring beer, which is even better,
So much fun. I adore you. And please, my best to everybody at the Walworth County Dems. What's the best way for folks to connect with you, to be aware of the events coming up and volunteer and contribute to your cause?
Well, I think two things. For the People's March, people can just Google that, and you put in your zip code, and you can find locations near you, or obviously the details on the Elkhorn March as well. So we'd love to have anybody come up that is in the area and there's not a march closer for them. To find us or connect with us, it would be on our website. And the website is Walworth County Dems, and we keep all of our events, everything current. So that's a really good way to make contact with us.
Excellent. And my co-producer, Jerry's whistling. I'm supposed to be in studio on the 17th, but I'm like, how do I just spend the night? I'll figure it out. I'm going to be there. Let's talk this weekend and make that happen, because I can't miss that one. All right. Anita, thank you for all the hard work you do. To everyone at Walworth County Dems, congratulations on your successes, and let's get so much more done in 25.
Yep, we got our marching orders. Yep. Now we got to make it happen.
We got to march.
Keep there. Yeah, and good talking to you as always.
Thank you, my friend. I'll see you in a few weeks. Maybe next week. All right.
That'd be great.
Wait, Anita, hold on one second. What are you doing this weekend to take care of yourself?
Well, you'll love it. So I have grandchildren, and I have a 17-year-old daughter, and she is, with three of her friends, going to do a sleepover at Grandma's Saturday night. Last weekend, I had the 12-year-old and his buds.
Wow.
So that's my fun thing that I do to offset stress with all this other stuff. But thank you for asking. Yeah. Kids are great.
Well, when I grow up, I want to be you and Ellen and Patty and all the incredible people with Wisconsin Dems. Really, you guys, I aspire. I mean, this is the life, because it is a commitment to service and to protecting people's rights in our community. Yep. So thank you so much for everything you do.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Bye. Bye, Anita. I love them so much. Does it show? Can you tell, Lady B? All right. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. All right. I guess I'm going to Elkhorn, Wisconsin on the 18th, folks.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Hey, everybody. I have to get some text. I have a caller on hold. Give me a moment, because I have so many texts to get to from the beginning of the show. And I apologize, because we had wonderful conversations with our guests, with some callers. And I don't want to diminish the texts that come in. And Larry, we were talking earlier with Judge Susan Crawford, who's running for the Supreme Court of Wisconsin. And she was talking about the backlog of rape kits. I don't know if you guys are aware, but in many states, including the state of Illinois, there is a tremendous backlog in the thousands of the evidence that is gathered in a most painful and humiliating way from women who go into an emergency room or call the police, and they go in and I can't even tell you how horrifying the experience is. And then those kits are collected and then they sit on shelves for years, sometimes decades. And we have never come to terms with how we deal with that. And Larry in Wheeling texted, he said, it drives me nuts whenever I hear about delays in processing rape kits. So many tests rely on DNA, crime investigations of all kinds. Why doesn't the state or counties and more labs do more to handle the volume of tests and bring turnaround time to zero? And that's a very good question. It is a sense of urgency at the state level and at the federal level. And this is, we are not an exception in the state of Illinois. And then he texted afterwards because we were talking to Jim about what are you doing this weekend. And Jim said he's going to watch some football. And Larry also wrote from Wheeling, you guys were talking about the Notre Dame Penn State game. I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I'm not anti-Notre Dame either. But I am cheering for Notre Dame in the playoffs because the more games Notre Dame wins, the better the upset of Notre Dame by NIU, Northern Illinois University Huskies, how that looks. And every playoff game Notre Dame plays, the upset is pointed out and NIU is mentioned. Excellent. Go Huskies 1980 for Larry. And then the 815 messaged that yesterday they sent a prediction. So I'll share it now because I didn't get to it yesterday. I'm getting to you, Dave, I promise. Prediction is Trump's fixation on Panama, Canada, and Greenland is just blowing smoke to cover for a lot of dirty dealing with the oligarchs that's going to be happening in the first few months, privatizing USPS, Social Security. He'll act like he succeeded and make a big deal of it after he conquers some island in the North Pacific. Like Grenada? I guess we're going to do a Grenada. I see what you're saying. No one has lived an island no one has lived on in 100 years, like how he did with the wall. Also, does the station have a contingency plan? I've never done this word right. Contingency plan for the Trump admin weaponizing national institutions against contrary voices. I think I'm stumbling over that because I don't like to think about it, and I don't. Okay, Dave in Hoffman Estates, how are you doing, my friend? What's going on?
Hey, Patty. They're talking about this California fires. I remembered I saved the clipping from when the Maui fire.
Yes, I was thinking about that too. Yes, go ahead.
Anyway, I'll just give some because they ain't gonna have much time. But said that more than 3,000 buildings in Lahaina were damaged by fire, smoke, or both. Insured property losses alone already total some $3.2 billion, according to Karen Company, a prominent disaster and risk modeling firm. With the housing crisis that has priced out many Native Hawaiians as well as families that have been there for decades, concerns are rising that the state could become the latest example of climate gentrification when it becomes harder for local people to afford housing in safer areas.
Dave, I appreciate what you're reading, but I also want to draw your attention to New Orleans, which had it also suffered from a climate disaster that was exacerbated by the lack of design by our own Army Corps of Engineers, and then became a land grab and displaced hundreds of thousands of people for the profit, including the mayor who was imprisoned for his corruption.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know the governor made it that these people had those, not timeshares, but, their own property that
sure.
had to give it up for some of the local people because it says, Hawaii is the most expensive state to rent or own, by a considerable margin. Back then it says a single family home on Maui exceeding $1 million.
Yeah. No,
and even a condominium market on 900,000.
Look, the cost of living in Hawaii and Los Angeles is pretty. I mean, it is extraordinary to live. It's so expensive in Los Angeles and to survive there. So, I've got to wrap up and read one more text, Dave. But yeah, no, I think you're onto something, and we'll have these conversations in the weeks and months to come. Hopefully not for the rest of our lifetimes, because I hope we fix it. But thank you.
Yeah, tourism is what keeps that island afloat. Where LA there is. Anyway. All right, have a good weekend.
Yeah, tourism. No, you're absolutely right. And the same with New Orleans. It keeps those economies going. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, all right.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Thank you. And I feel bad because here's the thing about calling in. Like Dave calls in and he knows I got to cut him off sometimes. Mark, I was mentioning earlier about when sometimes folks say something that might be off, whatever. Mark wrote, "You're so right. It's incredibly hard to call into a show. Your regular callers are so impressive, and thank you. We all handle them to the best of our abilities. We all, go in whatever direction." And so thank you so much for your kind text, Mark. I appreciate that. And it's great to talk to all of you heading into this weekend. And I want to stress how grateful I am for this family here at WCPT. I've had a particularly stressful day. I don't want to go into it. I didn't. And Lady B, thank you for being here. Randy Rhodes is next. Take care of yourselves. I don't know how to do the heart right there. Okay. I love you, Lady B. Randy Rhodes is next, followed by Matt McNeil. Have a good weekend.